Thanks for tuning in to the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch. This is going to be a solo episode for Week 13 of the NFL, also for college this week with the holidays coming around. Tough to get Maul and Pops in on the same schedule with traveling to families or anything. So I'm actually knocking out the episode on Tuesday, the 25th, before me and my family head off to see the family, but wanted to get it knocked out, especially with the Thanksgiving games. We'll get through those and then through the rest of the NFL slate. Kicking off, the first game. Packers at the Lions. It's a Thanksgiving tradition here. The past few years has been a little bit different just because the Lions have been competitive. They won last year. However, when you look at both of these teams, I would argue you're getting to the point that I don't want to call this a must-win for the playoffs yet, but it's a must-win for the division. And when you look at both of them, both teams have their own struggles equally. And we can start with the Lions. You take a look at them and you go, well, why are the Lions not meshing as well as they have in the years past? I think a lot of people may lean towards Ben Johnson saying, oh, well, he's not the OC. That's the reason for the struggles on the offense, and I really disagree with that. And the reason I disagree with that is losing their center, Frank Ragnow, has really shown up this year. The offensive line, especially the interior from the center and the guard positions, has struggled mightily. And they've really struggled against better defensive lines, of which the Giants really have. The Giants really had the game, in my opinion. Me and Maul were immediately after on Sunday, we were talking on the phone, and it is high time that coaches start being held more accountable to not taking the points. I know we're talking about the Lions here, but if the Giants, instead of going for it on 4th and goal, had kicked the field goal, they probably win the game. And it's because the Lions only had a minute and a half to drive the length of the field. Their drive stalled out. They had to settle for a 60-yard field goal that they, luckily made, went into overtime where it's able to take over the game and win. But from that standpoint, what do you have more faith in? That you can hold them from, getting... I get that if you score, the game's over, but your defense has had tremendous success against the Lions all day. Give your defense the opportunity. Now back to the Lions. When you take a look at their last two games, yes, did they win against the Giants? 100%. Against the Eagles, they had the exact same struggles. They struggle with the defensive pass rush on the interior of the line. And who that affects more than anyone is Jared Goff. Under pressure, he's really had his own struggles. And now, the great thing for Jared Goff is he is surrounded by talent, and namely Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs played out of his mind. It was one of those guys. I still remember we had a guy in the Squadron who was a big Georgia Tech fan, and when Jahmyr came to Alabama, I asked him, I was like, hey, tell me about Jahmyr. He looks really good on the few clips that I've seen come from Georgia Tech, and he said he's going to be game-changing. He's like, the dude took over games at Georgia Tech. He's like, I'm happy for him because he's going to get to go play for a program that's winning. And he got his opportunity at Bama, and a lot of people, really scratched their heads when the Lions took him as high as they did in the first. They're not scratching their heads anymore. Without Jahmyr Gibbs, the team's completely different. He's really solidified himself as the number one back. Last year that was in that Sonic and Hedgehog mode with him and David Montgomery. David's really taken a back seat unless it's for distance. In terms of 3rd and short, goal line formations, that's when you really see Montgomery come in. Montgomery's still a good back, but it's clear that Jahmyr's really taken over that role. On the opposite side for the Packers, they have a great win against the Vikings. Their defense made J.J. McCarthy look what we've sort of predicted that he would. That defense has to show up against the Lions. They did week 1, and I think that's fresh in the Lions' minds. The Packers have been very wishy-washy, as with the Lions here lately. I think the Lions have played more consistently in terms of Their defense has played better. Offense, yes, had the bad game against the Eagles, but otherwise they have put up a lot of points this year. This one's tough. And I don't even want to pick on the Lions' offensive line. I think this game really comes down to one person and one person only. It's Jordan Love. When Jordan Love's on, the Packers look tremendous. You look at when they played the Steelers, blow them out of the water. Jordan Love's had really, really good games. And then on the opposite side, Jordan Love has had horrific games. The Browns, the Panthers. Like you can look at some of these games and go, man, like, why did they lose those games? And the games they lost, I know we talked about last week, it wasn't by this like 35 or something points. Both teams were held under 20 points in the teens for both of them. That can't happen in the NFL for a guy that you're wanting to be. You got to be able to put up points. So when I look at this, I think it's purely on the Lions defense. The good news for the Lions defense, they've really started to figure out their secondary. I get it. Trick plays hurt the Lions. Otherwise, they played competitively down the stretch. Deep ball is still an issue, but not so much the tackling. Haven't seen as many flags as we saw last year on the Lions as this year as the season's progressed. It's a must-win for the Lions. If they want the ability to capture the division, when you take a look at how the Packers are ranked and also how the Bears are ranked, they've got to get this division game. I think whoever wins this puts themselves in the front driving seat of trying to win the division, and the loser, I think the best that they can do is wild card. I don't see them losing this game, especially if the Lions lose and go into the Packers. It's really going to make it difficult for them to win the division. So I think if they want a bye, if they want home field advantage, that's what this game builds up to. Who wins? This is the tough part. I know I'd rep Jordan Love. How do you think he's going to do? The other side of this issue is, can the offensive line of the Lions stand up to the Packers? That's my heartburn in this, is I want to pick the Lions. I really do. I love Dan Campbell. I love what he's done with the team. I love the Detroit story. You would love to see them be successful. I just go back to week one. All the struggles they had against Micah Parsons of that line, I think, are going to manifest themselves again. Give me the Packers to upset the Lions, and for the Lions to do what they normally do on Thanksgiving, lose. Next game, 4:30. Chiefs-Cowboys. Chiefs come off a huge win against the Colts. What we said last week manifested itself in the fourth. Spag was dialing up blitzes. Danny Dimes was lost. They really did a good job of shutting down Jonathan Taylor. And lo and behold, when you give Mahomes multiple opportunities, he's going to make you pay. And that's what the Chiefs did. Then on the opposite side, you got the Cowboys that, crazy enough, here they are beating the Eagles after being down. When you watch the first quarter, the Eagles get up 21-0, and you go, this is game. They're about to run the Cowboys out of the stadium. And then they didn't score again. And the Cowboys just kept chipping away, kept getting the ball, just working their way back, end up kicking a game-winning field goal. You got to give it to the Cowboys in terms of the perseverance against the Eagles. The difference in this game is they're not going against the Eagles' offense again. They're going against Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs are going to win this game. I think the Cowboys' defense has gotten better with Quentin Williams, but at the end of the day, they really struggle against the pass. And you saw it in that game multiple times. The Eagles' offense is just a mess. And they consistently, it was like they got up 21-0 and completely relaxed. And once the Eagles' offense relaxes, they just can't get into it anymore. Like, there is no, they have to stay on the gas the entire time, because it's like taking your foot off the clutch when you're parked. The engine just dies for the Eagles. It just dies when they take off the foot off. So I don't see the Chiefs doing that. I think the Chiefs know where they're at in terms of ranking in the AFC. They got to keep winning. I think that they beat the Cowboys, and I think they beat them pretty handily. I really don't see Dallas slowing down the Chiefs' offense that much. I think it's Kansas City's -3. I really like them, minus a touchdown. in this game. That's just my opinion. And then the evening game, Bengals-Ravens. Everyone wants to know, we don't have an answer yet, does Burrow play? I would be more prone to saying he played if the Bengals won last week, just because it was one of these situations that it would have helped their playoff standing in terms of competitiveness to get into the wild card position. And they had a chance. Like, they had chances against the Patriots. They just could not close the deal. Interceptions and really turnovers really is what did in the Bengals. They didn't have Jamar Chase either, which hurt. He's coming back off the 1-game suspension this week. I think that Joe Burrow, if he's healthy and he can make an honest attempt, I think that you're going to see him play in this game, just because the division ultimately is still up for grabs. The Steelers have had their struggles since getting up early in the division. Lamar and Derrick Henry, there's still something off about this team. They refuse to give Henry the ball on early downs, and it really puts him behind down and distance. And they're really not a passing team in terms of just offensive efficiency when throwing the football on 3rd and long. The thing about Lamar that makes him great when throwing the football, especially when it's 3rd and short, is you really have to account for his ability to run. When it's 3rd and 5 or less and he gets out of the pocket, those linebackers have to soften their coverage. They can't get as deep, and it really hurts defenses when undercutting in terms of a zone coverage, intermediary routes. And that's where he routinely finds guys open, because when that coverage has to be closer to the line to account for his ability to run, he's able to hit those guys over the middle. The Bengals defense is trash. Lamar and them, I think, are going to easily score in the 20s, if not 30 points. And especially the Bengals against the run. I mean, they gave up over 200 yards to the Bears on a rookie quarterback. Derrick Henry should have a field day. The only way they stay competitive was with Joe Burrow. Now, don't get me wrong, they can stay competitive with Joe Flacco when Flacco's on. Burrow gives them the best chance to win. If Burrow can play, I think they have a shootout chance. However, Baltimore's -7. I don't like the line for Baltimore if Burrow plays. If Burrow doesn't play, love the line. Smash the line. However, if he plays, I still have Baltimore in the game just because of how bad Cincinnati's defense is, and especially with Derrick Henry running the football. Give me the Ravens in the game for the nightcap on Thanksgiving evening after you're just trying to muscle down whatever leftovers that you have. But I'm going to take the Ravens in the game. It's who I like. Then Friday, Black Friday, have another game on Amazon. Bears at the Eagles. Philly right now -7. Bears, you sit back and both teams, we talked about the Eagles. I mean, just them letting their foot off the clutch and just kills the engine for them against the Cowboys. Bears have a really good win against the Steelers. It was a competitive game. The thing that I keep going back to, Caleb still makes mistakes that you're wanting to see him progress from making again. Him getting caught up with TJ Watt and just slinging the ball that ends up being recovered for a touchdown, those are some of the times that you go, look, I'd rather you just take the safety. Take the safety. We'll take 2 points. We'll rely on our defense to stop them, and we'll limit it to 2 points. Please don't make it a touchdown, an extra 5 points. Can we limit? We really don't want a safety either. But from the standpoint of can we not make it worse, those are the things that Caleb has routinely done in terms of his scrambling, that times that he will make it worse for the team. We've thrown out that stat that when you take a sack, now the percentage of times after taking a sack that you're going to get a touchdown drops down to 7% on that drive. You got to limit those. They have really opened up the offense. DJ Moore has looked exceptional. Nudze has looked great. Luther's looked great. Loveland has really started to show up for them. Swift's looked good. You really have to admire what the Bears are transforming to each and every game on their offense. They look very potent. They look like a Ben Johnson offense. They look good. On the opposite side, you got the Eagles. On paper, there's nothing about the Eagles you don't like. The only thing I could possibly say about them right now is Lane Johnson being hurt. That hurts their offensive line, just cohesion. That's their best group outside of Saquon. Saquon's the best player on the field. The offense, however, I put this solely. I know everyone loves the dime on Jalen Hurts, which, don't get me wrong, has he missed some passes and other things? Yeah, every quarterback does. It's the play calling. They get into this mindset and they do not use it correctly. I don't think they know who they're like. Who do we want to get the football to? It was clear that they were like, we got to get A.J. Brown the football in the first few drives. Resulted in 21 points. And then it was like, now we're going to change up what we're doing. And they could not figure it out. I mean, it was hard to watch there at the end because you could tell. It's like, dude, the Cowboys can win this game because the Eagles offense cannot get out of its own way. Going into this game, it's a question of, I think the Eagles defense is still very, very good. Very good. I mean, the Cowboys offense is one of, if not the most potent offense in the NFL in terms of passing. How do the Bears stack up against that? I don't think they're quite at Dallas's level, especially when you take a look at both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens compared to DJ Moore and Rome. Don't get me wrong, DJ Moore and Rome are great receivers. However, compared to those two, it's hard to make that comparison to say they're at that level yet. I look at the Bears and I go, they really need to be able to run the football against the Eagles to be able to open up, limit the pass rush, limit those you really got to get the Eagles into some run stunts to try to stop the run, and that helps with the play action, which Caleb is exceptional at throwing the football on the run. That's where I would focus. But if you can't establish the run against the Eagles and you're having to rely on the pass, you allow Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, all those guys to just pin their ears back and go. That's what worries me in this game. Both teams, I mean, the Bears are 8-3. They're number one in the NFC North right now. Pops is high-fiving everybody. The Eagles are 8-3, but at the same time, there are two different 8-3s in this conversation. I do like the Eagles. I like them for their defense. I think that they can get to Caleb, make some dumb decisions that limits the efficiency of the Bears' offense. It's the Eagles' offense that you really question, is how many points can they score? They could score 40 on the Bears, no problem. Will they do that? Probably not, just because they've really struggled offensively this entire season. I think that if a team gets into the 20s this game, they win. I think the Eagles are capable of doing that, relying on their defense to create a few turnovers off of Caleb. Give me the Eagles in the game. Then going into Sunday, got 49ers, Browns. 49ers coming off a good win against the Panthers. They got the win. However, Purdy struggled mightily. You could tell just off. I mean, 3 straight drives with an interception. Hurts going against Shedeur Sanders, who leads the Browns to their win. And just as a note, since the Browns returned to Cleveland, here is the stat of all stats for Cleveland quarterbacks that Shedeur broke. Before Shedeur, every first-time start out of a new Cleveland quarterback, they were 0-17. 0-17. A new starting quarterback never won their first game with the Browns since they came back to Cleveland. He was able to accomplish that in Shedeur. Was it pretty? No. I don't want to take any. He made some good throws, especially that deep bomb to Judy. I mean, he made throws that I think Mel Kiper was like, see, I told you. But from a standpoint of offensive efficiency, they really struggled. The Browns did. Both of their goal line scores came off of Judkins in the Wildcat. Shedeur was able to get the pass to Sampson in the flat that he took, over 60 yards to the house. Got him the game, but the Raiders are absolute. I mean, I don't know how to even describe them, except it's like dog water mixed with bath water, mixed with sewer water, that should just, you can't burn it because it's that awful. I just sit back and the Browns going against the Niners, their biggest hope is that they can make Purdy do exactly what the Panthers did. I don't think the Panthers have the best defense. I think the Raiders have a good defense in terms of Max Crosby and some of their edge rushers. I still don't, or excuse me, not the Raiders. The Browns have a really good defense with Myles Garrett and their pass rushers. I think that they can really torment Purdy. And a few years ago when this game happened, the Browns ended up beating the Niners when the Niners were like 6-0 in Cleveland. I think that you're going to see a pretty similar game. The issue is I really do think that Shedeur, the more reps he sees, the more different things they're going to throw at him, and I can see some turnovers happen from the Browns' standpoint. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep pace with the Niners because I think the Niners still are more than capable of scoring when you have Christian McCaffrey and Kittle and the other guys on the outside. They are capable of putting up points, and I just don't know if the Browns, against a better defense than the Niners as compared to the Raiders, are going to be able to keep pace. Give me the Niners in the game. Then Jacksonville versus the Titans. Jags are -6.5. The Titans played a good game against Seattle. Ended 30-24 with Seattle coming out on top. But the Titans are just in disarray. They have so many missing pieces. It's really hard to sit back and pick them. However, every time that the Titans play the Jags, it's just a weird game. Like, it's just, there's times that the Titans are, you see it both ways, that the Jags are an excellent team, Titans are terrible, Titans win. Titans are an excellent team, Jags are terrible, Jags win. It is a in-division game that this game is always a coin flip, in my opinion. The Jags are coming off a 27-24 win in overtime in which Trevor Lawrence looked awful. Awful. He threw some awful interceptions. I know Maul, if he was on the episode right now, would just be like, guys, like, they have a really good defense. And it's honestly the only reason that they have won as many games as they have this year, because the Jags defense is playing lights out. If you were to put the Jags defense on any other team with any type of offensive efficiency, the Jags are the number one team in pro football, period. The defense is lights out for the Jags. Going into this game, I like the defense of the Jags, and that's why I have them against the Titans. Like I said, I still think it's a coin flip. Legitimately, if you were doing a parlay, I'd tell you to flip a coin because it's probably going to be right just as often as picking one of these teams. Just because these two teams, when they play one another, you just don't know what's going to happen. I like the Jags in the game from the defense, but I would tell you I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans won. Then the next game, which I think has shaped up over the last few weeks to really sort of be a great-looking game. C.J. Stroud should be coming back for the Texans, going against Danny Dimes at the Colts. Colts lose a heartbreaker in Kansas City. Really struggled in the fourth quarter to just find anything to just keep the ball in their offensive hands, even if it didn't result in points, just to take some time off the clock, just to do something. And you could tell that Danny Dimes was just lost in that fourth quarter. The Chiefs really did a good job of shutting down Jonathan Taylor in that game, which really helped them, as the game went on, taking, snaps off that defense where they're not getting beat up in the run. Got the ball back to Mahomes. The Chiefs gave themselves enough opportunities to find out and finally beat the Colts. This is the thing I look for the Colts in this game against the Texans is the Texans have a good defense. They have a really good pass rush. Will Anderson's playing great. Danielle Hunter's playing great. I just sort of sit back and I go, can the Texans defense replicate what the Chiefs did against Danny Dimes in that fourth quarter? It comes down to slowing down Jonathan Taylor. If you can limit Jonathan Taylor's success and put all of it on Danny Dimes, there's a better chance that your pass rush is going to get home. If the Texans can do that, they win. From the standpoint of their offense, this is the question is, what C.J. Stroud do we see coming back from injury? The line right now is -4.5. I think that indicates just because you're going to be knocking off some rust. You haven't played in a few weeks. You're coming off of a concussion. It's one of those ones that you sort of question, what was the concussion? Like, how bad was it? And I don't mean that in terms of anything negative against C.J. Stroud, but we've seen guys that have come off a concussion. It's almost like they came back a week too soon. And you wonder what's going to happen with C.J. Stroud. You also wonder what's going to happen if he takes a good hit and his head bounces off the ground again. I think we sort of saw the inconsistencies of their offense with David Mills. Even they did beat the Bills. Great win against the Bills. I'm just telling you right now, the Bills are not who we think they are. They're not. I sent my buddy, who's a big Bills fan, who I've gone to these games with, a text, and I literally told him, I was like, after the game, I go, I don't know who the Bills are. Are they a good team that has bad losses? Or are they a bad team that has good wins? I can't figure it out. After that game, I'd be willing to say that they're a bad team that's able to have some good wins because their play is so ineffective. Dave Mills came out and had a good game, threw 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Allen, on the other hand, had those 2 interceptions. Their defense wins them the game. If anything comes out of this game, it will be that their defense wins them the game. The question is can C.J. Stroud not lose them the game? If he can come out and just not turn the ball over and put their offense in a position to just score points, I actually like the Texans in the game. However, from that standpoint of him coming off the injury, I'm taking the Colts. I like the Colts in the game because of the fact that C.J. Stroud hasn't played in a few weeks. I like the Colts to bounce back after losing Kansas City. I don't see them dropping and coming out of the division lead. Give me the Colts in the games, but I do think it's going to be a good game to watch. Then you get the Saints, who are coming off a loss to the Falcons. The Saints they shot themselves in the foot. Field goal kicker misses 2, which 6 points right off the board. They get down on the goal line, get stuffed, not kicking a field goal. Why? Because your field goal kicker keeps missing. They left points on the board. I really think the Saints could have easily won that game against the Falcons. I know the score isn't as representative. 24-10, you go, well, they lost by 2 touchdowns. It was 16-10, and if that field goal kicker had made those 2, it's a tied game. If Taysom Hill had scored on the 4th and goal, they're leading by a touchdown. Falcons end up hitting Mooney for a deep bomb, go for 2, make it a 2-score game, and that's sort of where you sit back and you go, look, the Saints defense has played exceptional this year, especially the pass rush. They played really well. They gave themselves opportunities to win that game. Offense, they struggle. Good news for them, they're going against the Dolphins. Dolphins are coming off a bye, so you sort of look for the Dolphins to come out and, hey, we should see some good plays. The problem is the Dolphins, you just sort of, you don't know what you're going to get out of Mike McDaniel. Here he was in Spain 2 weeks ago when we last saw him play, and they have a chance to win the game with a field goal, and he decides to go for it again on 4th down. Like, everyone's just scratching their head, like, why did you not kick the field goal and force them to go down the field to kick a field goal to tie? They ended up trying to kick a field goal to win. They just fortunately missed. The Commanders did. So the Dolphins are sitting there, and this is a tough game for me. Miami's -6. I don't know what Miami team you're going to see. Are you going to see the one that played the Falcons that beat them, the one that played the Bills and beat them? Or are you going to see a Dolphins team that's gotten blown out multiple times this year already? I don't know. The Saints, I will say, have played consistently. Outside of the game, I think in week 3 or 4 against Seattle that they just got handled, the Saints have played competitive football week in, week out. I know their record doesn't show it at 2-9. I like the Saints in this game. Call me crazy. It's one of those ones that Tua is always a coin flip. And are you going to see a good Tua or a bad Tua? The Saints with their consistency, give me the Saints in the games. Next game, Falcons. They're -2.5 against the Jets. I mean, the Jets, it was hard. They were competitive against the Ravens. The Breece Hall fumble killed the Jets. I mean, they were literally inside the 10. They're going to get a touchdown. You look for them to really, they've been pushing the Ravens all day, and then he fumbles, and it completely changed the whole feel for the game for the Jets. And then on the opposite side with the Falcons, we just talked about them beating the Saints. It wasn't they got the win. I'll give them that. They made the stops when they need to down on the goal line. Hats off to that defense for doing that. Field goal kicker missed 2. You got to take the win. Against the Jets, it is a tight spread. I think the Jets have played competitively in terms of the last few weeks, especially since last week they played with more offensive efficiency with Tyrod Taylor, not in terms of points scored, but just the ability to move the football down the field. Now, this is sort of tongue in cheek, but the Ravens' defense isn't that great, especially compared to the Falcons. I think the Falcons have a better defense. The question is can Kirk Cousins move the football around? I think he can. The other nice thing that for the Falcons, you get Bijan. Like, turn around and hand the ball off. He's a superstar. I like the Falcons in the game. The line, I think, is deceptive just because of how good the Jets or how well the Jets played the Ravens. But I also want to just push back there's a lot of things wrong with this Ravens team. There's a lot of things wrong. They're ineffective on offense. Their defense is still bad as it was last year. I like the Falcons more than 2.5. Then Cardinals, Bucks. Cards 3-8. Bucks 6-5. Bucks get just popped by the Rams. And I would say that over the past 4 to 5 weeks, we've really seen from this high when the Bucks beat Seattle. That was about the peak for the Buccaneers. And since then, it's just been sort of a downhill slide for the Buccaneers. Injuries have taken over. Baker got hurt in the game. He gets taken out. They just have not looked as efficient as they were those first few weeks. Record shows they're 6-5. I mean, they are struggling to maintain a control in the division. Lucky for them, they play in the NFC South, which really helps because no one else seems to want to win the division. The Cardinals are yet again, it's this team, I keep saying this, like they're a competitive football team. When you take a look at the Cardinals, they went to overtime. You know, they took the Jags to overtime. They had chances. Like, they had enough chances to win that game, and they've played teams very well. I sort of sit back and Tampa Bay's minus 3.5. There's something, it's sort of like the Ravens. Right now, this team, I think it's a lot to deal with injuries, is in a funk. I like the Cardinals to come in and upset the Bucks. And I like the efficiencies of Jacoby Brissett. He plays within the system, plays well. They're getting some health back at running back for the Cardinals. I like what the Cardinals are doing right now as compared to the Bucks. The Bucks really seem to be in this downhill slide. Give me the Cards on an upset. Then for the one of the highest spreads, we got the Rams at the Panthers. Rams minus 10.5. Rams come out, dominate the Buccaneers. I saw a stat that when Aaron Rodgers had, I think it was like 45 touchdowns and 8 interceptions during his MVP season, the last one with the Packers that he won MVP. Right now, Matt Stafford's thrown 31 touchdowns and 2 picks through 11 weeks of the season. He's playing phenomenal. Really has linked up with Devontae Adams, especially in the red zone. Those back shoulder throws that Aaron used to always make, and especially the 50-50 balls in the red zone. The red zone's been the big one. It's just if you will put him in a good position, he has elite Hall of Fame level body control Devontae Adams in terms of blocking out the corner from really making a play on the football, being able to high point the football. He's still that guy when you give him a 50-50 ball. He's not the guy that's going to catch one on a quick slant and take it 80 anymore. He's still capable of catching that football, but he's not taking it 80 yards anymore and outrunning the whole defense like he was when he was in Green Bay. But this is the difference. With Sean McVay, the Rams are exceptionally coached. They know how to take the talent at wide receiver and use it for their advantage, and they're using it for their advantage. Defense has played very well. And then on the opposite side, you get the Panthers, who struggled against the Niners. And the Niners defense does not compare to what the Rams has. The Panthers picked off Purdy 3 times. I don't see them doing that again. I mean, the Niners drove consistently down the field on the Panthers. I think the Rams are going to murder the Panthers. Just pop them. I don't see this being a close game. I think it's going to be more than 2 touchdowns. Give me the Rams all day. It's probably one of the safer bets. I like how the Rams are playing. Give me them against the Panthers in Carolina. Next game, Vikings at Seattle. This is the other big spread. Seattle's minus 10.5. So let me start with the Vikings. I literally sent this text to the guys. We were talking about J.J. McCarthy's stats. 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, really looked poor. looked poor the week before. And this was the question I had for the guys. There's no way in my mind that before JJ got hurt that he was showing the signs of being better than how Sam Darnold played in the regular season last year. I just emphasize that point one again. I don't see how the head coach of a football team can watch what Sam Darnold did last year with the Vikings and then go, hey, I think that we can be better with JJ. And the reason I say that is because at no point this year have we seen JJ play to a level that I think he ever practiced like that his rookie season. I think it's the inability, one, for coaches to admit that maybe we got this wrong in the draft. And I'm not saying you have to sit back and go kick him to the can without ever giving him reps. I'm not saying that. But you found a really good quarterback in Sam Darnold last year. You chose to not bring him back. And you look at who they're playing, the Vikings are, they're playing Sam Darnold. Like, here's the guy that balled out for you last year, and now you're stuck with a second-year rookie quarterback who has really struggled, who's in concussion protocol. We'll see if he even plays. This is one of the times that you really want, from an organizational standpoint, the Vikings should have kept Sam Darnold and allowed JJ to grow. Allow him to continue to take. You don't have to get him on the field right now. He's on a rookie contract. Just let him be a rookie. But now that you've cut loose Sam Darnold, you're just stuck with JJ. It's ride or die. And I think that Kevin O'Connell's probably going to get fired for it. Maybe the general manager honestly should as well. But you sort of look at the trajectory of the Vikings. They're 4-7. Here's Sam Darnold with Seattle 8-3. I think at the end of the week, Seattle's going 9-3. Vikings are going 4-8. And the Vikings have really just worked themselves out of playoff contention after being the front runner for it last year. I mean, it came down to the last game against Detroit for the division crown last year, and this year they're not even competing for the division. It's a foul on the Vikings. It's a foul on the organization. It's a struggle to watch. Give me Sam Darnold. I think that he lights up his old team in the afternoon slate. Then Bills Steelers. Me and my dad are actually going to this game. It's my dad's first time going to Pittsburgh to watch his beloved Steelers. He grew up a big Steelers fan with a steel curtain. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to play. I think if Aaron Rodgers plays against the Bears last week, the Steelers win the game. There was just times that I really think Aaron puts them in the position to win. The Bills are coming off the loss to the Texans. And I keep going back to this, and I say it once again, are they a good team with bad losses or a bad team with good wins? I really think that they're a bad team with good wins. The Bills struggle defensively to stop the run. Really struggle defensively to stop the run. That is what the Steelers are going to do this game. They are going to use Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson to run and then use play action off of the run when the Bills commit more guys to the box to throw. And then for the Bills, offensively, you want to know where all their problems lie? It is at wide receiver. Look, I love Shakir. Like, baller. He's played very well for the Bills. Let's have some honesty. Would any other team out there outside of, and when I say any other team, any other competitive team out there have him as either the number one or number two guy? Like, and I'm not trying to take a slam at him like, oh man, he's just not that good. It's more just like that's what the Bills' number one wide receiver is. If you put him on, Shakur and the Vikings, he's behind JJ and Addison. If you put him on the Panthers, he's for sure behind McMillan. I doubt he's behind Leggett. Maybe he's the number two guy there. He's not ahead of Devontae or Puka with the Rams. So you just sort of sit back, and it's that lack of depth for the Bills. They go out, they sign Brandon Cooks this week. I'm not sure if he's going to get any type of – he'll probably get some limited snaps that, hey, you're running a go. We're going to use your speed to our advantage, and we'll throw it up to you. He'll get more in tune with the offense as the season goes on. He's able to get more into the playbook. But from a Bills standpoint, like, Josh can't win the game every time. I know he did against the Buccaneers. He had 6 touchdowns, but you just can't keep going to that breadbasket and expect for there always to be bread in there. It runs out. So that's what's happened to the Bills. In this game, they're minus 3.5 point favorites. I think that maybe Vegas doesn't know how Rodgers' hand is going to do. I don't think it matters because I think he's going to turn and hand the ball off consistently. And until the Bills show that they can stop a rushing team, which they haven't this year, I think the Bills are going to continue to struggle to win games. Give me the Steelers to upset the Vegas line this week in Pittsburgh against the Bills. Then Raiders-Chargers. So Raiders come off, losing to Shedeur Sanders. Chargers are coming off a bye in which they didn't look great a few weeks ago either. I mean, they lost. And you sit back and you look at the Chargers, and it's one of these, I go back to injuries have killed them offensively, especially on the offensive line. When you're getting pressure, it doesn't matter who you have back there. You can have Justin Herbert, you have Mahomes, you have Tom Brady. If you can't get them blocked, you can't allow your quarterback to be great. The good news for the Chargers is that the Raiders are a very bad football team. Outside of Max Crosby, name someone on the defense. I'll wait. Good luck. Outside of Brock Bowers and, Genty and Geno, just because it's Geno, name another wide receiver. Just name a wide receiver. Jacoby's gone. The Raiders are a bad football team. They're 2-9, and that record is honestly gracious that they have 2 wins. So from that standpoint, you just sort of sit back and you go, man, the Chargers should win this game pretty handily. They're minus 9.5 points. I would tell you, I like the spread, but at the same time, we've seen a lot of inconsistencies from the Chargers. However, if they can just block Max Crosby and not let him take over the game, Chargers win this game, no problem. Then going into Sunday night, Broncos, Commanders. Commanders coming off a bye. Broncos are coming off a bye. Commanders lose that game to Miami a few weeks ago. Broncos come away with that overtime win against the Chiefs, or the win against the Chiefs with the field goal in the last second. Broncos are sitting there number 1 in the AFC right now. Not just the division, but the AFC at 9-2 playing the Commanders. The Commanders are old. Their biggest asset is, can you get Bo Nix to turn the football over? The Broncos offense has shown inefficiencies, and they're really stagnant at times. They are hot and cold. The only way the Commanders win this game, I think, is you got to keep it under 20 points, and you give your offense with Mariota a chance to just have Debo break one, some other guys just make some guys miss. I think the Commanders can stay in the game. However, I think the Broncos win the game. If you wanted to take a sneaky line, it's Washington plus 6.5. I think they can keep it closer just because the Broncos have showed inconsistencies, but I like the Broncos in the game. Then Monday night, Giants, Patriots get to see Drake May at home on a Monday night game going against Giants, which I think this is honestly sort of must-watch football with Jameis Winston. I mean, we saw it last week against the Lions. The offense has looked light years better with Jameis than it ever did with Russell Wilson. Now, does Jackson Dart come back from concussion protocol? I'm not sure. No word on that yet. I like what Jameis is doing. He's slinging the football. He hasn't made a lot of bad mistakes, and I mean the touchdown that he caught last week, the Hail Mary or the flea flicker that he threw the touchdown for, I mean, it's must-watch football. I think that the Giants can play the Patriots competitively if they want, especially from the defensive side. We saw Campbell, the rookie tackle for the Patriots, go down last week. I haven't seen whether or not he's going to play this week against the Giants. The Giants have pass rushers. The Giants have a defensive line. The biggest thing for the Giants is I'm not sure of any. I was watching the Giants-Lions game, and one of the stats that came out is the Giants are the worst defense in pro football in the fourth quarter. And it's because those linemen get worn out. And by the time the fourth quarter comes around, guess what? They're dead. They can't rush anymore. And it's killed them in games. It has killed the Giants in games. They are winning offensively. They are going into the fourth quarter saying, we should win this game. And then time and time again, they keep losing. I think that they can keep it close with the Patriots. However, I think that the Patriots are just a super disciplined team. The Patriots are sitting here at 10-2. I mean, the Patriots look really good, which is crazy just based upon how, you would a few years ago with Mac Jones and Bill Belichick, you go the Patriots back to just being a bad football team. They're not ever going to, it was nice having Brady, but those days are over. And here they are, competing with the Broncos for the number 1 seed in the division or in the AFC. I like New England to win the game. It's the Giants' best method to win the game is they have to create turnovers from Drake May. They have to limit the production of Drake May, consistently getting to him. If the line can get home, they have a chance. If not, the Patriots are just very fundamental. Patriots win the game, which is going to wrap up the Thanksgiving week set of games for Week 13. Sorry the other 2 guys couldn't come on, but it is the holidays with people traveling. So did want to get the solo episode done. Do want to thank you all for tuning in. We'll check back in for Week 14 next week. Thanks for tuning in. Time to pull chalks. We'll see you next week.